Why I regret moving into a nursing home. 6 hard truths you must know. At 79, I've seen my fair share of life's ups and downs. But if there's one decision I truly regret, it's moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the right thing to do. My family encouraged me, assuring me that I'd be safe, cared for, and surrounded by support. I wanted to believe them, and for a moment, I did. But once I settled into Cedar Hills Retirement Center here in Michigan, reality hit hard, and it was nothing like what I imagined. If you're thinking about this option, either for yourself or someone you care about, please hear me out. There are 6 hard truths I wish someone had told me before I made this move. Because life in a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It reshapes everything. And once you're in, getting out? That's much harder than you think. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share might surprise you, and just might help you avoid a painful mistake. Regret number 1. Losing my independence. The biggest shock wasn't the plain room, the fixed meal schedule, or the unfamiliar faces. It was realizing I'd handed over control of my life. Before I moved in, I had my rhythm. I chose when to wake up, what to cook, whether to spend my mornings reading or walking around the lake by my old house in Traverse City. But once I entered Cedar Hills, that all changed. Suddenly, breakfast was served at 7:30 sharp, even if I wasn't hungry. Lights out by 9 p.m., whether I felt sleepy or not. Want to step outside for some fresh air? You'll need to request it. And wait until someone's free to assist. One morning, I sat up in bed, reached for my favorite paperback, and froze. My books were gone. My favorite armchair with the worn-out arms? Gone. In its place, beige walls, a stiff mattress, and a rolling tray table. This wasn't home. And that realization cut deep. What's worse, you start adjusting without even realizing it. You stop asking for little things. You stop making choices. Over time, you lose touch with yourself. And regaining that independence, it's nearly impossible. If you're considering this step, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the small freedoms that make life feel like yours? Regret number 2. Feeling forgotten. When I first moved in, my son Todd promised weekly visits. My grandkids, Emily and Jacob, said they'd come every Sunday afternoon. And they did, for a while. But life outside goes on. Todd's job got busy. The grandkids had sports and school events. And those visits slowly faded into occasional phone calls and birthday cards. Holidays were the hardest. I'd sit near the window, hoping a car would pull up. Sometimes it did. But too often, plans changed last minute. I'd watch the front doors of Cedar Hills, wondering if anyone remembered. It wasn't that my family didn't care. They just got swept up in their own lives. But when you're not present every day, it's easy for others to assume you're doing just fine. And truthfully, you stop telling them you're lonely. You don't want to be a burden. But the silence, it settles in deeper than you'd expect. Regret number 3. Losing a sense of purpose. Back home, I had things to do. I volunteered at the church, baked muffins for my neighbor's grandkids, and helped out with community events. But here, my days are planned for me. Bingo at 2, movie night at 7. I know it sounds nice, but none of it feels meaningful. I miss being needed. I miss waking up with purpose. When you stop feeling useful, your spirit starts to fade. You become a passenger in your own life. Regret number 4. Health decline. Oddly enough, since moving in, my health has taken a dip. Not dramatically, but gradually. My knees ache more. I sleep less soundly. And I've caught more colds in the past year than in the last 5 years combined. Maybe it's the stress. or the change in routine. Or maybe it's just being around so many others with fragile health. But I don't feel stronger here. I feel weaker. Regret number 5. Loss of privacy and dignity. Privacy is a luxury here. People knock, but they also walk in. Doctors talk about your conditions like you're not in the room. Aides help with dressing and bathing, even when you'd rather try on your own. I never thought I'd feel embarrassed at this age. But here I am. Regret number 6. It's hard to leave. You think, if I don't like it, I'll just move back home. But it's not that simple. You sell your house. You downsize. You rely on services you didn't before. Your finances change. Your confidence to live independently starts to shrink. The system isn't designed for easy exits. Final thoughts. If you're considering a nursing home, take a long, honest look at the full picture. Yes, it might offer safety, but at what cost? I'm sharing this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to remind you that independence, connection, and purpose matter, and once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Whatever you decide, make sure it's your choice, because you only get one shot at this life, and it should feel like yours every step of the way. At 79 years old, I've gathered a lifetime of wisdom, but if there's one choice I truly regret, it's moving into a senior living facility. Back then, it seemed like the right move. My children encouraged me, telling me I'd have everything I needed: safety, support, and companionship. I trusted their intentions. But once I settled into Maple Ridge Retirement Home, reality hit me hard, and it wasn't anything like I had pictured. I know many of you might be thinking about making a similar move, either for yourself or for someone you care about. Maybe it sounds like the safest route. Maybe you've been told it'll make things easier. But before you make that decision, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me ahead of time. Because this isn't just a change of address, it's a change of lifestyle, identity, and autonomy. And once you're in, getting out isn't as easy as it sounds. Let's keep going. Here's the next regret, one that hit me harder than I expected. Regret 2. Feeling forgotten. One of the toughest parts of living in a senior facility is realizing just how quickly the outside world moves on without you. When I first moved in, my family promised they'd visit often, and at first they did. My son Daniel came by every Sunday, and my granddaughter Lily brought cookies and stories from her college dorm. But then the visits started to space out. Calls replaced in-person visits. Holidays became maybe next times. It wasn't malicious. They weren't trying to hurt me. Life simply got in the way. I remember one quiet evening sitting by my window with a phone in my hand, debating whether to call Daniel. I missed him, but I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to make him feel guilty for having a busy life. So, I put the phone down and stared outside as the sky darkened. That's when it hit me. This was my reality now. Waiting. Wondering. Hoping someone would remember to include me. What most people don't realize is how easy it is to become out of sight, out of mind, once you're tucked away in a place like this. It's not that our families stop loving us. They just assume we're fine. They imagine we're adjusting, making friends, and finding new routines. And sometimes we are. But that doesn't replace the ache of being forgotten. If you're considering a senior facility, ask yourself, are you ready for that kind of loneliness? Because even with the best staff, scheduled activities, and shared dining rooms, it's still very possible to feel completely alone. If this resonates with you so far, please comment number 2 below and let me know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and turn on that bell. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that matter. Now, let's move on. Regret 3. losing my sense of purpose. I assumed moving into Maple Ridge just meant changing where I lived. What I didn't expect was losing my reason why I lived. Back home in Cedar Falls, I had a rhythm. I woke up to make my own breakfast, 2 eggs, toast, and coffee. I swept the porch, fed the birds, tended my little herb garden. It might not sound exciting, but those daily tasks gave me a sense of purpose. They were mine. Here, everything is done for me. Meals are brought to the dining hall. The laundry gets picked up every Tuesday. There's nothing to clean, no garden to care for, no morning routine that's mine. At first, I thought it would be nice to just rest. But after a few weeks, the stillness became heavy. I wasn't just resting, I was fading. There's a man here named Walter. He's 85, used to be an electrician in Des Moines. Always loved fixing things, always had a little project going. But here, no tools, no light bulbs to change, no gadgets to tinker with, just silence. He told me last week, I feel like my hands forgot how to be useful, and I understood exactly what he meant. When we lose our sense of usefulness, life starts to feel hollow. It's not just about killing time, it's about staying connected to the things that make us feel alive. So if you're considering this kind of move, ask yourself, what still gives you meaning? Because finding purpose inside these walls takes real work, and it's something no one tells you about before you sign those papers. I can't tell you the exact day it happened, but somewhere between the spring rains and the first frost of fall, I felt like I aged 10 years. That's exactly what it felt like. One moment I was still moving around with purpose, and the next it was as if my body had surrendered to stillness. The truth is, when you stop using your body, you really do start losing it. And in a place like Rosewood Haven Assisted Living, where everything is designed to make life easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. If I had known just how quickly I would lose my strength, I would have done things differently. I would have pushed myself harder. I would have taken the stairs even when I didn't feel like it. I would have walked the long way to the dining hall, stretched every morning, lifted a few weights, or at least tried. But I let comfort replace effort, and my body paid the price. If you're considering moving into a care facility, ask yourself this. Will you still have the motivation to keep your body strong when everything around you encourages you to sit down and take it easy? Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't nearly as simple as it sounds. If this part of the story resonates with you, please comment number 4 down below so I know you're still with me. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. Your support helps us keep sharing the stories that matter. Now let's continue. Regret 5. Losing my privacy and dignity. Back when I lived in my own little condo in Lansing, I never thought twice about privacy. It was just something I had. Closing my bedroom door, enjoying silence, taking a long shower on a Sunday morning, even choosing when and what to eat. All of those little freedoms added up to something bigger. Dignity. But once I moved into Rosewood Haven, I realized how much of that dignity I would have to surrender. From day one, people were coming in and out of my room for wellness checks, meal reminders, housekeeping, medication schedules, you name it. Even when they knocked, they didn't always wait for me to answer before walking in. At first, I tried to be understanding. They were just doing their jobs. But it's hard to feel like a whole person when you're treated more like a task on someone's clipboard. Even the simplest things required assistance. Getting dressed, using the bathroom, or trying to take a shower. I had to press a call button and wait. Sometimes 5 minutes. Sometimes 30. And if you needed to go but no one was available, well, let's just say your dignity takes another hit. And the food. If what was on the menu didn't appeal to you that day, There wasn't much you could do. One Tuesday, they served liver and onions. I hadn't eaten that since 1963, and I didn't plan on restarting. But there weren't any real alternatives. Then came the issue of roommates. Not everyone gets a private room. I was fortunate to share with a woman named Patty. She was quiet, kind, and mostly kept to herself. But others weren't so lucky. One man down the hall had 3 roommates in his first 4 months, one of whom snored like a freight train and another who wandered at night, opening drawers and muttering nonsense. Sleep became a privilege, not a guarantee. No matter how many framed photos you hang on the wall or cozy quilts you bring from home, it still doesn't feel like home. And when your days are scheduled by others, meals at 8, activities at 10, medication at noon, it's easy to forget what it felt like to live on your own terms. Ask yourself, are you prepared to trade privacy and control for structure and routine? Because once you give that up, getting it back isn't just hard, it might be impossible. Regret 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first came to Rosewood, I told myself it was temporary. Just a few months to try it out. I thought, if I don't like it, I'll go back home. But it turns out, leaving isn't as easy as walking out the door. My house in Lansing had sat empty for months. The kids started cleaning it out, donating what they thought I wouldn't miss. My son even hinted at renting it out for some extra income. When I finally mentioned the idea of returning, I was met with hesitation. "Are you sure, Dad?" my daughter asked. "Wouldn't it be safer to stay?" Safer, yes, but not freer. And after months of being cared for, no cooking, no cleaning, barely any walking, I wasn't sure I could even manage on my own. I'd gotten weaker. My confidence wavered. That fear kept me planted where I was, not because I wanted to stay, but because I no longer believed I could leave. I met others here in the same boat. Some made peace with it, others didn't. But nearly all of us agreed. Leaving is a lot harder than we ever imagined. Regret 6. It's harder to leave than you think. Frank Dawson was 78 when he first moved into Willow Creek Living Center, a quiet facility nestled just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. Like many others, he told himself it was just temporary, maybe a few months to see how things went. But like clockwork, those few months turned into a year, and then another. Before long, the idea of leaving felt like something from another life. Frank wasn't alone. He met others at Willow Creek who shared the same experience. They had planned to stay briefly, expecting it to be a short rest stop before returning home. But leaving turned out to be much harder than anyone expected. The longer you stay in a place like that, the more difficult it becomes to readjust to life outside. The routines settle in, the physical demands decrease, and your world begins to shrink. For some, the option to leave disappeared entirely. Their homes had been sold, their personal items packed away, and their savings drained by the monthly cost of care. There was no going back, not without enormous effort, and for many, that effort became impossible. That's the part no one really talks about. Moving in feels like a choice you can undo. But for most people, it isn't. The nursing home slowly becomes your entire world. The outside, your old street, your neighbors, your favorite grocery store, starts to feel like a dream you once had. You don't just lose your address. You lose the familiarity of a life you built over decades. If you're thinking about entering a facility like Willow Creek, ask yourself, are you truly ready for the possibility that once you move in, it might not be so easy to move back out? Because once you settle in, the barriers to leaving, whether they're financial, physical, or emotional, can be much higher than you ever imagined. If you've made it this far in the video and found this message helpful, please comment number 6 down below so we know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button and turn on the bell so you won't miss future videos. Your support helps us keep making content that matters. Final thoughts. Looking back, Frank doesn't regret growing older, but he does regret believing that a nursing home was his only option. He entered Willow Creek hoping for comfort, safety, and maybe even a little peace. What he found instead was a place that slowly chipped away at his independence, his privacy, his purpose, and even his sense of identity. Does that mean nursing homes are all bad? No. For some people, especially those with serious health concerns, they provide the level of care that's necessary and sometimes even life-saving. But before making that move, Frank wishes he had taken more time to consider what he was giving up. If he could go back, he says he would have tried harder to remain in his own home. He would have explored other options, like in-home care, part-time assistance, or community-based programs, anything that would have allowed him to maintain some control over his life for a bit longer. If you're facing this choice, take a moment to ask yourself, is this truly what's best for me? Or is it simply what feels easiest right now? Because the life you have today, your daily routines, your independence, your ability to choose, is worth holding on to for as long as possible. Thank you so much for watching. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment and let us know one thing you took away from today's video, and how you plan to apply it to your own life. Your feedback keeps us inspired. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you again soon.